The wrestling world has been turned completely upside down, and what we're about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about CM Punk's return to WWE. The mystery is over, the speculation ends now, and trust me when I say this, the truth is so much more shocking than anyone could have predicted. Before we dive into this absolute bombshell, please subscribe and hit that notification bell because you do not want to miss any of the insane developments coming in professional wrestling. For weeks, months even, we've been living in a state of absolute chaos. CM Punk returns to WWE after a decade away, after the controversy, after the lawsuits, after everything that went down in AEW, and just when it seems like he's finally found his footing back in the company that made him a star, WarGames happens. And at WarGames, someone decided that CM Punk's fairy tale comeback needed to come crashing down in the most brutal way possible. The attack was vicious, it was personal, and it left Punk lying in a pool of his own regret, staring up at the lights wondering who in the world hated him enough to do this. The theories have been flying since that night. Social media exploded with speculation. Was it Seth Rollins finally getting revenge for all those years of Punk talking trash about WWE while Seth carried the company on his back? Was it MJF somehow making the jump from AEW in the most shocking move in wrestling history? Could it have been Drew McIntyre, who has made it crystal clear that he has zero love for the Second City Saint? Or maybe, just maybe, it was someone from Punk's past, someone with an axe to grind from his first run in WWE, someone who never got closure, never got their moment to make Punk pay for whatever perceived sins he committed on his way out the door back in 2014. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. The attacker wasn't who anyone expected. Not a single dirt sheet got it right. Not a single insider saw this coming. And that alone should tell you everything you need to know about how well WWE kept this secret locked down tighter than Fort Knox. In an era where spoilers leak faster than water through a sieve, where nothing stays secret for more than 5 minutes, WWE somehow managed to pull off the impossible. They kept us all in the dark, and now that the lights are on, what we're seeing is absolutely mind-blowing. Let's rewind for a second and talk about what actually happened at WarGames. Punk was in the middle of what should have been his crowning moment of glory. He was finally back in a WWE ring doing what he does best, being the best in the world. The match was pure carnage, exactly what WarGames should be: violence, chaos, bodies flying everywhere, the cage being used as a weapon, blood, sweat, and tears being spilled in equal measure. And then it happened. Out of nowhere, from the shadows, someone emerged. Someone who shouldn't have been there. Someone who had no business being anywhere near that ring. And they struck with the precision of a surgeon and the fury of a hurricane. The attack itself was surgical. This wasn't some random assault. This was calculated. This was planned. This was personal. The way Punk was targeted, the way the attacker knew exactly where to strike, exactly how to maximize damage, exactly how to send a message that would echo through the entire wrestling industry, it all pointed to someone with intimate knowledge of CM Punk, someone who knew his weaknesses, someone who had studied him, someone who had been waiting for years for this exact moment. The immediate aftermath was pandemonium. Security rushed in. Medical personnel surrounded Punk. The match had to be stopped. Social media went into absolute meltdown mode. Twitter was unusable for hours because everyone on planet Earth was simultaneously trying to figure out who did this and why. The wrestling community was divided into 1,000 different camps, each one convinced they knew the identity of the attacker, each one more wrong than the last. WWE played it perfectly. They let the speculation build. They let the theories multiply. They let us all stew in our own confusion and desperation for answers. And with each passing day, with each passing week, the mystery only deepened. Punk himself remained silent, which only added fuel to the fire. Was he protecting someone? Was he working with WWE on the reveal? Or was he genuinely as shocked as the rest of us, trying to piece together who would want to end his comeback before it really even began? Now here's where things get really interesting. The attacker has been revealed, and it's someone who has every reason in the world to want CM Punk destroyed. It's someone whose career trajectory changed the moment Punk walked out of WWE in 2014. It's someone who has been living in Punk's shadow for years, someone who has watched from the sidelines as Punk got all the glory, all the accolades, all the attention, while they did the hard work, while they showed up every single night, while they bled for this business without getting a fraction of the recognition. The attacker is someone currently on the WWE roster, someone who has been hiding in plain sight this entire time, someone we've been watching week after week without ever suspecting they had this level of hatred burning inside them for CM Punk. And when you hear the name, when you hear the reasoning, when you understand the history, it all makes perfect sense. It's so obvious in hindsight that we should have seen it coming from a mile away, but WWE worked us all like the masters of manipulation they are. Think about it from the attacker's perspective. You're grinding it out in WWE, working your way up the card, earning your stripes, paying your dues, doing everything the company asks of you. And then CM Punk, the guy who walked out, the guy who sued the company, the guy who burned every bridge on his way out the door, gets to just waltz back and like nothing ever happened? Gets a hero's welcome? Gets pushed straight to the top of the card? Gets opportunities that people who stayed loyal to WWE can only dream of? How is that fair? How is that justice? How is that anything other than a complete and total slap in the face to everyone who remained faithful to WWE through thick and thin? The resentment has been building for years. Every time CM Punk's name was mentioned in a WWE arena and the crowd popped like crazy, every time fans chanted his name during other people's matches, every time someone on the roster was compared unfavorably to Punk, every time the question was asked why WWE couldn't create another star like CM Punk, it all added up. It all festered. It all turned into this boiling rage that finally, exploded at WarGames. And here's the kicker: the attacker isn't wrong. From their perspective, they have every right to be furious. They have every right to feel disrespected. They have every right to believe that CM Punk doesn't deserve the red carpet treatment he's been getting. Because while Punk was off making headlines in other companies and spending years away from the ring, they were here, carrying WWE on their back, having incredible matches, connecting with the audience, doing everything a top star is supposed to do. And for what? To be overshadowed the second CM Punk decides he wants to come back? The reveal happened in the most dramatic way possible. WWE built an entire segment around it. They brought Punk out to the ring, clearly still dealing with the physical and emotional aftermath of the WarGames attack. He demanded answers. He demanded to face his attacker. He wanted to know why. And then the music hit. That familiar entrance theme that we've heard 1,000 times before but suddenly took on entirely new meaning. The crowd erupted, half in shock, half in complete understanding of how perfect this all was. When the attacker walked out and stood face to face with CM Punk, the tension was absolutely electric. You could feel it through the screen. This wasn't a work. This wasn't scripted emotion. This was real animosity bubbling to the surface. This was years of genuine frustration finally being given a voice. And when the attacker grabbed that microphone and started laying out their case against CM Punk, explaining in detail why they did what they did, why they felt justified, why Punk deserved every bit of pain that came his way, it was absolutely riveting television. The promo was fire. Absolutely scorched earth. They didn't hold back. They called out Punk's hypocrisy. They exposed his ego. They reminded everyone of all the bridges Punk burned, all the people he disrespected, all the companies he walked out on when things didn't go his way. They painted a picture of CM Punk not as the rebel hero fans remember, but as a selfish, entitled prima donna who thinks the world owes him something simply because he's CM Punk. And the crazy thing? Parts of it rang true. Parts of it made you stop and think, wait a minute, do they have a point here? But Punk fired back. Of course he did. He's CM Punk. He reminded his attacker that they wouldn't even have a career if it wasn't for the doors he kicked down, if it wasn't for the path he paved, if it wasn't for improving that you don't have to be 6'5" and 260 pounds to main event in WWE. He reminded them that while they were happy collecting a paycheck and doing what they were told, he was fighting for creative freedom, for better working conditions, for wrestlers to be treated like human beings instead of corporate assets. He reminded them that being loyal to a company that doesn't care about you isn't a virtue, it's stupidity. And just like that, we have the feud of the year set up. Maybe the feud of the decade. Because this isn't about championships. This isn't about being #1 contender. This isn't about any of the usual wrestling tropes and storylines. This is about respect. This is about legacy. This is about two completely different philosophies of what it means to be a professional wrestler clashing head-on. This is about loyalty versus independence, about playing the game versus changing the game, about doing what's expected versus doing what's right. The matches we're going to get from this feud are going to be absolutely incredible. These two are going to beat the living hell out of each other, and it's going to be must-see television every single time. But more than that, the promos are going to be legendary, because both of these people can talk. Both of them can cut you down with words before they ever touch you physically. Both of them understand psychology and storytelling at the highest level. This is going to be a masterclass in professional wrestling from top to bottom. What makes this reveal so perfect is that it creates instant investment. We're not being asked to care about something manufactured out of thin air. The foundation for this feud has been building for years, whether we realized it or not. Every time these two crossed paths, every time they were in the same building, every time one of them succeeded while the other struggled, it was all building to this moment. WWE just had the patience to let it simmer, to let it develop naturally, and then they struck at exactly the right time with exactly the right angle. Moving forward, the implications are huge. This isn't going to be resolved in one match. This is going to be a war that spans months, maybe even stretching into next year's WrestleMania season. And depending on how it plays out, depending on who ultimately comes out on top, it could completely reshape the landscape of WWE. Because if the attacker defeats CM Punk, if they prove their point, if they show the world they were right all along, that catapults them into a whole new stratosphere. But if Punk wins, if he proves that his way was the right way, that his rebellion and his independence were justified, that validates everything he's ever done and cements his legacy forever, the wrestling world will be talking about this for years. This is the kind of storyline that becomes legendary, the kind that gets referenced decades from now as one of the greatest feuds of all time. This is the kind of angle that reminds us why we fell in love with professional wrestling in the first place, because when it's done right, when the storytelling clicks, when the emotions are real, when the stakes matter, there's nothing else like it in the world. So there you have it. The mystery is solved. CM Punk's attacker has been revealed, and the wrestling landscape will never be the same.